Middle-earth, a land of great beauty and greater conflict. From small folk to ancient kingdoms, Middle-earth is the breeding ground for fantastical adventures and larger-than-life characters. This is the story of Middle-earth. In the Third Age of Middle-earth, the entire history and lore of the Elves was held and maintained in a hidden stronghold. This was Imladris, known to men and hobbits as Rivendell, the home and domain of Elrond Half-Elven. Elrond and his twin brother Elros were born near the end of the First Age at the mouths of Sirion, a refuge of the Edain and Elves during a war-torn era of Middle-earth's history. The lineage of Elrond and Elros is unique among the people of Middle-earth. They were descended through their great-grandmother Luthien, from Melian, a being from the blessed realm of Valinor, who chose to remain in Middle-earth as a consort of an elf king. Their mother Elwing, granddaughter of Luthien the elf princess, and Beren, a hero among men, married Eärendil, the son of another human hero and a daughter of another king of elves. The Dark Lord of the First Age was Morgoth, a member of the Valar whose lust for power and domination had thoroughly corrupted him. In the darkest days of that age, Elrond's father and mother sailed over the sea to Valinor to beg the Valar for help in defeating Morgoth. The Valar agreed to the request, which led to the War of Wrath and the banishment of Morgoth. However, Elrond's parents had broken the ban against mortals setting foot in the Blessed Realm, a transgression punishable by death, or perhaps something worse. Because of the nature of their mission, however, the Valar did not punish the pair. Instead, they and their two sons were given the choice of kindred, elves or men. Elrond's parents chose the firstborn. When Elrond and his brother were 6 years old, they lost their parents in an assault by another faction of elves. The twins were raised to adulthood under the care of one of the elves who led the attack. When they were older and their time came to choose according to the decision of the Valar, Elrond chose the elves as his kindred, while Elros chose the kindred of men. In the Second Age, a mysterious being naming himself Anatar, Lord of Gifts, appeared among the elves of Eregion, befriending them and learning their secrets for forging rings of power. Unknown to the elves, he created a ring of power to bind all the other rings together. Once he had created the one ring, he was unmasked to the elves as Sauron, the new Dark Lord, servant of Morgoth, their enemy of old. During this time, Elrond became a revered master of lore, as well as a great leader in times of war. When Sauron's forces overran Eregion, Elrond led the elves who fled the destruction to a hidden valley in the Misty Mountains, where he established a stronghold. This stronghold became the only stand against Sauron in all of the region until the combined forces of the Elven High King Gil-galad and Númenorian King Tel-Minastir defeated the Dark Lord. Elrond was appointed High Regent of Gil-galad and Eregion, with the stronghold as his base. Elrond joined Gil-galad and Elendil in the War of the Last Alliance against Sauron at the end of the Second Age and became the keeper of the Elven Ring Vilya upon Gil-galad's death. He returned to Rivendell and used the ring to create a sanctuary of learning and lore that lasted through the Third Age and beyond. Rivendell was a place of such importance that it was referred to many times by several different names. The elves called this place Imladris, meaning deep valley in the cleft. Literally, a dell riven into the mountains. Sometimes it was simply called the Hidden Valley, and none could find it save by secret paths or by the invitation of Elrond. Even in the latter part of the Third Age, when Eriador had seen many years of relative peace, the safety of Rivendell and the wisdom of Elrond were sought by the people of Middle-earth. Gilrain, wife of the rightful but exiled king of Arnor and Gondor, came to Rivendell seeking refuge for herself and her young son after the death of her husband. Elrond fostered the boy, Aragorn, whom the elves named Estelle, the Sindarin word for hope. Elrond taught Estelle about his heritage and birthright, preparing him for his destiny. Many years later, the wizard Gandalf brought a company of 13 dwarves and a hobbit to Rivendell, seeking knowledge that only Elrond possessed, for a quest that proved to be more significant than anyone expected. Bilbo Baggins, the hobbit of Gandalf's company, came to Rivendell to live out his old age and to study the lore that was stored in Elrond's library. It is to Bilbo that we owe what we know of Middle-earth, much of it passed on to him by Elrond and the Elves of Imladris. In the closing years of the age, ambassadors from all the leaders of Middle-earth converged simultaneously upon Rivendell, seemingly by coincidence, seeking counsel and guidance from Elrond about the fight against Sauron. They were joined by Gandalf the Grey, Aragorn, and 4 hobbits. One of the hobbits was Frodo Baggins, Bilbo's nephew and reluctant bearer of the One Ring. During the Council of Elrond, it was decided that Frodo and 8 companions would take the ring to be destroyed in the fires of Mount Doom. Though it was not known at the time, this was the beginning of the War of the Ring, in which Sauron was finally defeated and Aragorn took his rightful place on the throne of Gondor. After Sauron's defeat, Elrond took his leave of Middle-earth and boarded a ship to Valinor, in the company of Bilbo, Frodo, Gandalf, and Galadriel, the Lady of Lothlorien. Galadriel's husband Celeborn remained behind in Rivendell, conserving its lore and serving as lord of the Eldar who still remained. Then many years later, during the final fading of the Elves, he too set sail for the west, and Rivendell was left silent and empty, with its memories locked deeply within its stones. We must now leave the peaceful sanctuary of Imladris and turn to Angmar, an evil region that battled with the northern kingdoms of men.